Morning, everybody. I know we'll have more folks join this call as we go. I appreciate your guys' patience. Obviously, some tech savvy issues as always with trying to do these things. Every time we try to put a webinar together, but obviously want to try to, my goal here with the CRA is to make sure that we have provide as many updates as we possibly can. I know there's a lot of rumors out there. I feel like I get 100 to 150 text or calls every single day of everyone thinks, of a rumor of this or that. And I think hopefully these updates that we try to do at least once a week or give or take gives you guys some clarity on what we've been working on, kind of updates from the state, updates on the federal side, an opportunity to kind of give you guys an opportunity to really ask us questions through this. As you guys know, if you're new to this, keep your screens turned off unless you want to be part of the recording, because we do send this out afterwards for people that were unable to make it on. But any questions you have, the chat is there in the side box to make sure you can ask your questions, because we will have hopefully close to like 125 to 150 of you on this morning. So a little tough to have you guys unmute and ask questions. So to get started, I'm Scott Dolch, Executive Director of the Connecticut Restaurant Association. I appreciate you guys jumping on, whether you are a member or not. Right now, as every one of you know, this is a dire time for our industry. Very difficult, last few weeks and the months ahead as we look into the winter and what we're trying to do to help you guys survive this. So just to kind of give you guys an update of today, we're going to go through some of the federal and state updates, but then we're going to really shift gears a little bit on a campaign that we are launching, which has a lot of different pieces to it, as we try to do really three things that we're asking for. We're asking to not roll back as an industry. We're asking for state grant funding. I'll get into the federal side in a little bit, but this is really on a state specific push right now. So first and foremost is no rollbacks, allowing you to keep your dining rooms open, stay in 2.1, and hopefully start to have conversations about a vaccine and getting back to phase 3 and getting beyond that, to be able to run your business as soon as possible and as safely as possible without question, but making sure that that's the conversation. The second part is the state grants. I will get into a little bit more of the details and the minutia of what we know today and why this campaign is more about each of you doing more than even the CRA. We are one voice. Yes, we're united. Yes, we're stronger than we've ever been, but having the voice of our industry individually and together, I think will really make a difference when we start talking about what the state can do and provide for us. The third bullet of all of this is consumer confidence. We know that it doesn't matter how much percentage of people you can put in your restaurant. If people aren't coming out because they're scared or what the media is saying or what the governor is saying, it's killing consumer confidence, and it doesn't matter. It's almost, as people have shared to me, it's almost like we're shut down, Scott. And how do we build that back up? And it's kind of a little bit of part of our campaign as well, and messaging that I try to instill on the governor's administration every single day. Just so you guys know, I'm fortunate with the relationships I've been able to build over the last 8 months. Nicole Griffin, I know, is on, our contract lobbyist as well. Her and I have worked tirelessly to try to have those relationships, to share our side, speak on behalf of the industry, and trying to talk through the challenges and issues and make sure they get that. Because I don't think every time, and I'll get into some details of some things that have happened over the last few weeks that have been extremely frustrating. I know it's been frustrating for each of you, but trying to make sure you guys know that you do have an ally in the association, trying to represent you in every way, and pushing back and making sure we can try to build back consumer confidence. We can, get the funding and support you need, so we do not have to close more doors in restaurants. Unfortunately, we've had to see that and do that over the last 8 months. And with the winter ahead of us, I am worried about what the future holds. So our speakers today, obviously myself, Yvette spoke at the beginning, and Ryan O'Donnell, they're going to get into, besides the campaign, we'll talk a little bit about Dine Safe as another added benefit to all of our restaurants in Connecticut, to start using a platform that I really think can make another difference of building back consumer confidence, showing that this industry goes above and beyond what is asked of them every single day, I know the frustration is there. I've seen you guys on Facebook and everything else. So, my frustration is warranted with you. When I walk into a big box store, or I walk through other retail or other businesses that don't follow the guidelines to the level that each of you do, it is extremely frustrating. And I share that every day with this administration, to make sure they're not targeting an industry that actually has done everything that's been asked of them, and is going above and beyond of what's asked of you to keep your employees and your customers safe. So let's just get started a little bit here before we go into all the details. Federal side, I try to make sure we talk about this every time we're on a call, of where we are on a federal side and the concerns that are here. Understand that there's a lot of divisiveness down in Washington. I think people thought after the election it would get better. I think it's actually gotten worse. Know that my role at the CRA is to be a voice for Connecticut restaurants in Washington, D.C. That has never changed. I think people lose, a national just deals with chains and the bigger restaurants. That's the farthest thing from the truth. There's 52 restaurant associations across the country. I represent Connecticut, obviously, and then there's Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico, besides the other 49 states. We represent all of our members are independent restaurants. Obviously, we have the chains through national that we work with, but we have a voice for every sector of our industry, and we're down in D.C. When we can be. I'm actually in D.C. 4 or 5 times a year. Usually, I was there about a week before the shutdown, talking to all of our 7 delegates, our 5 House representatives, and our 2 senators. And I've been in constant communication with all of them throughout the last 8 months, and really trying to ratchet it up over the last few weeks about trying to get another round of federal stimulus. I know that's the big question in everybody's mind. Will the Restaurants Act, the Restore Act, I think there's like 9 different versions of acts that are out there. Will it pass? When will it pass? From my take right now on December 1st, I still feel that a federal stimulus is going to happen. I just, don't feel as optimistic that it's going to happen in the next 2 months. I think it's going to take until President-elect Biden is inaugurated because of the Democrats want a larger bill. They're not willing to settle on what the Senate Republicans are trying to go to the table. I know the governor yesterday said they should just make a deal. I agree with him. But there's a lot of back and forth going on down there. I know Trump has kind of pulled himself out of it, which is frustrating as well. I know Pelosi and McConnell, obviously Pelosi being the Speaker of the House and Mitch McConnell being the Senate Republican leader, the head of the Senate, still are on different party lines of what they actually will agree to. There is a date that's out there that people think December 10th or 11th could be something that happens. Being realistic though, and that the reason for that date that's been thrown out, if you guys follow national news, is that is when the budget, Congress's budget runs dry, and they have to renew a new budget to be able to keep Congress in session and to be able to continue to function down in DC. I know it happens like almost every year. They're going to go bankrupt. They're not going to be able to function as a Congress. They're going to pass something, but there's talks about trying to put something in for small businesses, our industry in that. So with that said, the National Restaurant Association is working on a grassroots campaign. I think if you guys haven't seen it, we've asked you to fill out survey data of where your restaurant and your businesses are currently. So we can use that data with media on a national level, but also on a state level about the impact that this pandemic has caused for our industry. But also they're working on a grassroots campaign. If you guys remember the earlier 52886 text, the Restore, the restaurant survival, all the stuff that they've done before. They're going to do that again at the end of this week, early next week, to really gear up for the December 10th, to try to make some noise, to try to get these leaders to see the light that our industry needs help. I think the West Coast closings and things that have gone on in Philadelphia and Chicago, rollbacks in Delaware and Rhode Island, have definitely caused more of these congressmen and women to say we probably need to focus on this area, and kind of like you think. But our delegates as well, I've tried to express we need help and support without question, and we need it now. What do I think will pass? I think I still am going to bank on it's going to take a couple more months. And I don't think it's going to be the Restaurants Act. I know that other groups are out there trying to say that that's what should pass. I think the logical solution is another round of PPP. And just because how it was laid out, how it got to the banks, how it got to the businesses, I think it'll be probably much more targeted to smaller businesses like yours. I think it'll have the 60-40 tie to it. I think it'll have the 24-week piece to it as well. But that's the realistic, I guess, if you're a betting person, that's where people think what would pass. I know there's other parts to this. I see Billy asking a question about the PPP money being income that hurts everyone on the tax deductible write-off piece right now. Yeah, that's a part of this conversation. The fact that, you can't write off your PPP dollars and you're going to be taxed on them if you don't know that already. I highly recommend you reach out to your accountant. We're here on December 1st. We're 31 days out from the end of the year, making sure you understand any dollars you've received from federal EIDL loans, PPP, your accountant. And if you guys need help with that, please reach out to us, but start planning and preparing for that now. I don't agree with what's gone on with the tax deductible piece, Billy, that you brought up by any stretch. Obviously, National is pushing hard to try to get that changed within the December 10th, 11th, if there are any bills put out. But again, whether or not something will actually happen is going to be a really interesting question. So all of that is on the table on a federal side. I don't want to go too much into detail on federal because there's not a whole lot of action or movement. But at the same time, please know that you do have an association that's fighting for you every day for additional dollars coming out of DC. And I'm hopeful it comes sooner rather than later. But at the same time, I can't control the divisiveness down in Washington of the two of the parties being able to actually come together and pass something to help an industry that is suffering across our country without question. And seeing the closures that are happening is just really, really depressing. And I don't understand why Congress can't come together to help an industry, in my opinion, but we'll keep pushing. So I used the picture of the delegates. As you guys know, they've all been reelected on the House side, and Blumenthal and Murphy obviously still are senators. If you have relationships and contacts with them, an email does not hurt. Or outreach in any form or fashion is something that is needed at this time. From a federal level, you'll see that more in the grassroots, though. It'll come out and make it easier for you from a national campaign. It'll be like a one button click. It'll take you probably 2 minutes to send out, which will send out information to them. But if you have a personal relationship, nothing is more important than a personal note or email or phone call to really explain your story and what's going on and what they can do to help down in DC. But these 7 people are the ones that can pass and help with federal. The governor and others try to use the federal. We need something to happen in federal. These are the 7. The governor can focus in on the state stuff, but these are the folks that we need to focus on trying to get federal dollars through. All right, going to shift to the state side. So lots happened, in the last 3 or 4 weeks since we've moved to phase 2.1. The case counts and hospitalizations have without question increased. We're seeing a rise, a second wave. What does that mean for our industry? What does that mean for potential rollbacks even farther than 2.1? There's rumors out there that, hey, we're shutting down yesterday. We were shutting down before Thanksgiving. I had a call with Commissioner Lehman this morning before this webinar. There's nothing new on the horizon. If anybody watched the governor's press conference yesterday, he pushed back on the notion from media saying that we need to do something about indoor dining or gyms, because at the same time, he did a really good job of talking about that our restaurants are keeping people safe. And from an economic standpoint, he's not there right now about shutting it down. Does that mean it's not going to happen? I'm not going to say no. As these cases continue to rise and hospitalizations are now close to 1,100 with the capacity being 2,000, that is a concern of ours. The hospitalization number is really the number that I worry about every single day, because that's the metric that public health continues to drive home to the governor about overflow of hospitals and the health and safety of Connecticut residents that do get the virus. So as we talk about other things that the governor has mentioned or that's been in the media, I didn't put out the DPH report. That was 2 weeks ago. That was a frustration. Last week, they instituted a new executive order on $10,000 fines for businesses. Still not, as you guys probably saw from our messaging, we really don't want to focus on the bad actors, because that's what this fine thing is about. You guys know what a bad actor is, and I think the media needs to focus on the good actors, the 95% plus of our industry that is doing everything that's asked of them. not being worried about these fines. I understand it's a lot of money by any stretch. It would potentially close your business if you were to be hit with this. And, I'm working very closely with the administration on any DPH example of someone trying to be fined if they aren't doing something egregious. And that's what we're here for. If you see something, or you're hearing things, or someone comes and does a raid of your restaurant, just keep us posted. It's hard to control, as you guys know. In our state, we have 69 different public health departments, as opposed to just one state or 8 counties. It's challenging. Not all DPHs are the same, how they manage things, how they see things, but those fines are driven through that state agency, not from liquor control. But realistically, David Lehman has shared with me that this is about capacity limitations, making sure you're not over capacity and gathering sizes. They're, in their opinion, of why they wrote these fines in the executive order, if you look at the executive order. So we'll continue to go through that. Yesterday at 7 a.m., the Hartford Courant put up a story. 12 Yale doctors, I think 43 total doctors, put their signature, or health officials put their signature on a letter to the governor late last week, urging him to close gyms and to close indoor dining. I had to push back a lot all day yesterday with the administration, providing how bad last week was for each of your restaurants. Let's not kid ourselves. It was one of the toughest weeks you guys have faced since this pandemic started. We are not the cause of these rising cases. We haven't been since the beginning. And to focus their attention on indoor dining and gyms, in my opinion, is just really damaging and really frustrating in the sense of that. And I thought the governor actually did a really good job yesterday of pushing back on the media, saying, "Oh, you should listen to scientists and doctors are telling you to shut this down." But he did a really good job of talking about that our restaurants are doing everything that's asked of them, keeping people safe. We're not there. We're looking at hospitalizations, we're looking at staffing, trying to make sure we can handle this. But I think the last thing he does want to do is roll back beyond 2.1. But the letter didn't help by any stretch. But I appreciate the administration's efforts yesterday to kind of curtail the feelings of a few doctors at Yale that think that, with no metrics, just saying, hey, because you eat inside without a mask, that's why it's unsafe, or you breathe heavily inside of a gym. I know I've seen a lot of the Facebook posts this weekend about Black Friday and sanitation and lines and spacing and all the challenges in grocery stores and so on and so forth. So trust me, I hear that, I feel that as well. And I'm sharing that same messaging up the ladder to the administration. And I appreciate their efforts yesterday. It got us another day, but every day is a fight, as you guys can imagine. New to the list, you guys all know food must be served with alcohol sales. That has not changed. I know it's a frustration. I know there's states out there that do not have this rule. They are looking to tighten up guidelines from a state side to make sure they define it. I think everybody that is serving food right now with alcohol, you shouldn't really have anything to worry about. They are just trying from a DCP and DPH side to really, make sure there's clarity on that you need to have food and a meal like food. So they, to be honest with you, there's a huge list of things that you can and can't do. I'm still kind of looking at that. I saw it this morning for the first time. Again, it's just additional guidelines. I know it makes it more challenging for each of you guys. And I'm as frustrated as you, but at the same time, I am trying to work through the guidelines. I don't have an opportunity to tell them, don't put it up, don't do it. All I really have an opportunity to do is make tweaks to it, or tell them, hey, this is too much, or let's just put this language in there. But again, there will be new guidelines, just making sure that they're reiterating that you need to have food served with alcohol inside your establishments. You can't, if you stop serving them food, you really can't give them another drink. Who's going to enforce that? Obviously, great questions that are always out there. But at the end of the day, I do think it's a little bit much, in my opinion. But at the same time, they're still trying to target the bad actors that have been doing it for a long time and not serving the food. Alcohol guidelines can be found. Everything right now that's updated is on the DECD website, ct.gov. And then we'll continue to go back on additional pieces to this. And the other piece of an update is rollbacks in regional states. We haven't seen a shutdown in the Northeast, knock on wood, outside of Philadelphia. But we have in Chicago, we have in Michigan, New Mexico, Oregon, Illinois as a state now. have rolled back indoor dining. Some have even taken away outdoor dining, even in the South, which doesn't make any sense to me. But it's something we're keeping an eye on. With Rhode Island rolling back to 33%, Delaware rolled back to 30% of indoor dining. There's a lot of push there. Michigan is in the middle of a lawsuit because they tried to negotiate with Gretchen, their governor. Unfortunately, wasn't able to do that in their lawsuit. Oregon is in a lawsuit as well. Ohio was able to just have a curfew and not have a rollback. But again, every day is a new fight, like I said before, and I'm trying to keep tabs. This isn't just a Connecticut issue. What happens in Massachusetts, what happens in New York or New Jersey have an effect on what our governor is going to do. Let's not kid ourselves in that conversation. So I'm trying to talk. I talk to my peers every single day in the Northeast states to find out what they're hearing on the ground and how that could affect our industry moving forward. So I just wanted to share those kind of updates since our last webinar of kind of where we are and what we're kind of pushing back on. Let's see. Sorry here. All right. So bigger piece to today, why we kind of are having this webinar is we are launching a full campaign starting this afternoon. Save CT Restaurant. You see the hashtag that's up top. It's a picture of the firebox. If you guys obviously should all know that location in Hartford, it's a landmark. Our chairman of our board, Dan Miser, actually opened the firebox. Day one was the GM and wholeheartedly, it means a lot to him. But that's an example of the 600 restaurants we've either lost permanently already or have closed without a date for reopening. That's the reality we're faced with right now, and we need to get messaging out on all different facets and all different sides, not just to the governor and the administration, but to the media and to the public. The Save CT Restaurants, we didn't make it up ourselves. Obviously, learning from some other states. Michigan's done some things. Delaware has done some incredible things over the last few weeks. But my ask of each of you today, as we have, 119 of you on this call, is this campaign is only as successful as each of you. While I said we have one voice, said this at the beginning of the webinar, we're doing everything we can to push out our voice and push out our messaging. But we need each of you and your social channels and the outlets that you have to tell your story, to tell the realistic situation that you're in, to highlight your employees, to highlight the safety things you're doing, to continue to push that we need support to make sure you can make it through and see the other side of this pandemic. My goal in all of this as an association is I know that this pandemic will end at some point, hoping it will happen sooner rather than later, trying to stay positive with the vaccines that will start to be distributed. We're being told by December 12th, 13th, or 14th throughout the country, how it will be distributed in Connecticut, what that means for our phases. When can we maybe start to see the light at the end of the tunnel to start to reopen our businesses fully? All of those questions we're asking, all of those we know. But in reality, I also know that that's going to take months. That's not going to happen tomorrow. That's not going to happen in 2 weeks. December, January, and February are crucial times for each of you to survive and get through this pandemic, get to the spring, see the other side of this, and start to recover and get a resurgence and a revival, because it will happen. I know that when people are dying to get back out to eat at a restaurant, to go 4 deep in a bar, to have a wedding, to do all the things that goes beyond this pandemic or what they used to do. But my goal is to make sure that out of the 8,500 restaurants, the 600 we've lost, we keep as many of those restaurants open and seeing and making it to that other side of this. And that's what this campaign is really about. So I ask of you guys, I guess I'll lead with what we're doing. And my first ask, so our first thing that we are doing, this is our letter to the governor and to legislative leaders that will go out this afternoon, probably around noontime, to the governor, to media. We'll have a press release. The whole hashtag is Save CT Restaurants. Everything's tied behind that. These are our 3 big asks right now of the governor. We can talk about other little things, I know delivery fees and liquor extensions and credit extensions and Eversource and all. Like, I'm working on all those things behind the doors. These aren't the bigger issues. These 3 things I feel like help make us to February. First and foremost is don't roll us back. We've proven that indoor dining is safe. It's effective. We can do this the right way. It's a regulated environment. Restaurants do not need to go back to and just take out and to go. As long as they're following, and they are the vast majority of our good actors, and we need to keep that top of mind. I think the governor did a really good job in his press conference yesterday, pushing back on the media questions in regards to this. The second one is the big one. The second one is state grant program funding, specifically tied to our industry. The $50 million that the state put out, the $5,000 grants do not help our industry. I know that it doesn't. I also know it's not a targeted grant program that should be specific to hospitality, specific to restaurants, specific to private event venues, specific to caterers and wedding venues that a lot of other states around us in big cities, metropolitan areas have launched. As an example, Washington, D.C. is giving $35 million program specifically to restaurants. Ohio, $39 million. Maryland, $50 million. New Jersey, $35 million. Rhode Island launched an extra $100 million, $50 million targeted to hospitality and the closures. That's where this ask and this letter really needs to drive home. And the reason being, as you guys, if you don't know, the CARES Act money, we're not talking about federal money that hasn't been issued. Our state received $1.38 billion in I think it was in either early May or late April to use for COVID-related expenses. The majority of the programs I just talked about in these other states have used CARES Act funding or even rainy day funds. In Maryland, they're using rainy day funds as well to target and help small businesses, specifically the hospitality sector. I found out last night that there's still $196 million in the CARES Act pool of unspent money in our state. That is something that I'm going to push hard through media and everything else to say that we need a carve out of hospitality. When I see $9 million going to nonprofit art venues yesterday, it's disheartening. As much as I know that places need that, our industry needs it as much as anyone. And I would argue that you give me another industry that's been hit harder. And that's where the state money needs to be talked about and why we need the state grant support. We're talking about grants, not loans, a bridge grant program. As I told Commissioner Lehman, I don't expect the state to save our industry because they can't do that. They don't have the amount of funding to do that, to launch a PPP program, to launch a Restaurants Act at $120 billion. They don't have that money. But what they could do is they could offer programs similar to these other states, $20,000, $30,000 that can get you the next 2 or 3 months to get you to that next round of federal stimulus, that you can pay some bills, that you can pay some of your staff, that you can do some things to make it to that light at the end of the tunnel. And that's what we're pushing for. That's what that second ask is really about here. And that's the biggest part of this ask of this letter, but the biggest part of why we need a loud voice from our industry, of each of you, to tell that. And then the last one is just as important, though, don't get me wrong, bolster consumer confidence throughout this. What words have meaning, what the governor says, what the media says, what the media promotes on a state level and national level, targeting our industry has had a negative effect. Trust me, I know. I've seen the numbers of what 2.1 meant, what the governor's comments about, I think eating inside is a risk. I don't think I would do it. Those comments that he makes at press conferences have a damaging to us. And I'm going to continue to push that we need to show everything that you guys are doing to the customers, and we need the customers to be telling the positive stories and how safe your restaurants are, and liking your pages and writing back and eating out. I can tell you there's members of this administration that eat out inside restaurants over the weekend, had just sent to me notes all the time. Hey, it's great to see that restaurant in Old Greenwich or Stamford did a phenomenal job. But they need to do that publicly. And that's really where the other ask of this to these leaders are, that they need to step up, because there is no factual information that I have seen that ties super spreaders to restaurants by any stretch of the imagination. And I will continue to push for that as we move forward. Even in the national studies, I push back on some of the CDC reports. I can go into more detail on those. The DPH state study was a joke. It was focused on employees, not on front of house, had nothing to do with patrons, had nothing to do with what the safety of your restaurant and what we're doing to follow these rules and make sure when you do have a positive case, because don't get me wrong, it happens. You guys are doing a phenomenal job of mitigating that risk, making sure your staff are safe and making sure your customers are safe, and doing everything you can and making tough decisions. Some of you have had to close down your restaurants for a number of days or weeks because of outbreaks, but you're taking those steps. You're working with public health, and you're working through this, which is, I think, needs to be pushed as much as possible. So this is the letter that will go out. I'm going to ask, I will make sure as you guys move forward that we're going to ask each of you guys as a call to action to send this to your local leaders, your new state rep, your new state senator. It'll go to the governor. It should go, it needs to go to all these state folks to make sure that they are seeing this letter. They're hearing it from you. You'll have an opportunity to tell your story. If you guys remember on the phone to action side that's on the side, you can write in, hey, I'm Scott. I'm the executive director of the CRA. This is this letter and what we need to do to save our industry. You can write whatever you want, or we'll already have a draft that you can just hit send and spend 2 minutes to do that, to get emails flooded into the inboxes of our legislative leaders that these 3 asks are there. That's the first step. So that's the first step of Save CT Restaurants. Second step, just as important, is your job here moving forward. So we've partnered with 3 incredible groups, as you guys probably all know them. Stephanie at Steph at CT Bites, Jeanette and Kristen at Eat In Connecticut, and Chaz at Go Nation. We've all worked with them as a CRA in different capacities, obviously in better times normally. But I want to really take the moment here to thank each of them, because as you guys can imagine, the finances aren't there. We don't have an opportunity to put this gigantic media campaign together as an association. And these 3 companies are built on the success of restaurants. But they've stepped up to the plate already and are going to continue to help us through this campaign of making sure that we have messaging, storylines. I know with Chaz and I were going back and forth late last night. We're trying to build a commercial on Save CT Restaurants and making it Connecticut specific. We're working on vignettes that we're going to ask of some of you guys to tell your story more directly to this, but also we want the organic, we want the genuine stories that you can use and promote on your own platforms to really make this ask larger and make the noise as loud as possible that our industry is in dire straits, that we need as much help and support as we possibly can, not only from administrative leaders, not only from elected officials, not only from media, but also from consumers. We need them to help support your restaurants any way that they can, either eating inside, eating outside in an igloo that's heated, to go take out, whatever that it can be. We can't lose, the support that we're going to need over the next 3 months. So I thank, first of all, these 4 people, but these 3 companies for all that they normally do. If you don't know them, they're phenomenal. And I appreciate their efforts already so far of helping us. And then I'm going to turn it over to Yvette and let her kind of share her screen because she has some more details on this program. So Yvette, it is your virtual floor now.
Thank you, Scott. And thank you everybody for being on this webinar today. I'm going to just go a little bit more into what the Save CT Restaurants campaign is and how you can get involved. And I want to mirror what Scott just said. The teams at CT Bites and Eat In and Go Nation are the best of the best. They work very hard, in support of the industry. And what we love is they're not only connected to all of you as far as the restaurant owner or operator side, but they're also connected to that, the dining public. They've been reaching out to us for, weeks and months now saying, how can we help? We're here, to support any way we can. And so we came together in the last couple of weeks to put this campaign together. We appreciate so much everything that they've done. I know, those of you on this webinar today probably have relationships with each of them. So please continue to reach out throughout this campaign. We're all going to support this campaign and help you get your story out there. So I just want to, I don't have the fancy PowerPoint that Scott had up there just a moment ago, but I'm just going to go through this document and we will send you this document. I just want to make sure, Scott, are everybody able to see this? Okay, good. We're going to email this document out to you so you'll have all this information. The more folks that we can get involved in this campaign, the better. So please share this out to anyone else that you may know. So as Scott mentioned, Save CT Restaurants is a statewide marketing campaign to help restaurants communicate the impact the pandemic has had on your business. I love the comment that Kristen made a few minutes ago in the chat that said, think of this as a truth campaign, sharing how this pandemic has impacted your business and what you're doing to keep your guests safe. So with this, we really want to make sure we're sharing, as I have here on this document, you can see the real and gritty reality of your situation. I think sometimes we hear, you know, though the dining public has been very supportive in, you know, outside dining, getting takeout, buying gift cards, we sometimes hear that there's this sort of mentality that that's enough, and that the dining public thinks, well, you guys are fine because, you know, you've got takeout and to go, and you've got, you know, you've got outside dining. And as we know, it's not enough. And so we want to kind of get a little bit more gritty in this, and you know, as Kristen said, you know, that truth campaign, and share the reality of what your situation is. And the way that we're doing this with this campaign is by sharing an impact video or an impact photo. I'm going to go into what those will look like in just a moment. But with the impact video, this would be just a short, you recording a short video expressing how the pandemic has impacted your business. We do have in this document, and I'll show you in a moment, some suggested or example speaking points if you just kind of need some ideas of what to talk about. But record that video and share it on social media. Use the hashtag #SaveCTRestaurants, and there's other hashtags that we're going to share with you in just a moment too. We ask that you, or suggest that you keep the video to 30 seconds or less, simply because of sharing on social media. That's going to make it most impactful, but we also know your story may take a little bit longer. So we want you to share whatever story, you know, touches you the most, and get that story out there. The other part of this, you can do in addition to a video, or if you prefer to do a photo, the impact photo, we're asking you to take a photo of yourself or your team or your restaurant holding up a sign that makes a statement. And again, whatever statement resonates with you, do the hashtag #SaveCTRestaurants, but it may be, as you can see some of the examples here, I laid off 40% of my workforce. I might have to close my doors soon. Please support us and our restaurant families. Again, like really sharing a story that will resonate with folks, and share the reality of what your situation is. I'm going to scroll down just a moment because I want to show you, we kind of borrowed this idea, I think Scott mentioned from, oh, I don't have the pictures here. I'll show you in just a moment, from another state that, Delaware did this campaign, and what they did is they focused on restaurant jobs. So they had their staff holding up signs saying, you know, save our jobs. That's just one example. You can see down here at the end of this document some of the example speaking points. You can talk about the impact that the pandemic has had on your business. And, you know, some of these really go into some details. You know, what's the percentage your business is down? How many employees did you have to let go in the last lockdown? What's going to happen if we get locked down again? What does your bottom line look like with respect to your expenses each month? We hear a lot of people talking about rent and insurance and payroll. And, you know, I don't think, you know, anyone outside of the industry doesn't really understand what those numbers look like, and how that's impacting you right now. The community impact, who relies on you in the community? What other businesses, you know, your vendors, purveyors, farmers that are impacted when your business takes a downturn? What are the steps you're taking to keep your staff and your guests safe? The general impact in mental health. Mental health is something we know is something that hits our industry disproportionately, and right now that's even more so. So you may want to speak about, you know, how has managing a business, your business through the pandemic, impacted your mental health and emotional health of you or of your staff? What's keeping you up at night? What's your greatest fear? And then the last points there, you can see the state support. How do you feel about the support you've gotten so far from the state? I know that's a tough tough question to answer, but I think the more we can share the truth and reality of your situation, the more that we'll be able to get this message out. Now, if we go back up here, you're going to see the second step after you do your video, your photo. You're going to see the step 2, which is sharing your photo or video on Facebook and Instagram. Use the hashtag #SaveCTRestaurants in any of your posts. And then we're going to ask you to tag. You're going to tag the #SaveCTRestaurants, the Restaurant Association, Eat in Connecticut, CT Bites, CT Food Lovers. Tag also the governor. Tag the DECD, any of your local elected officials, any media contacts you may have, and then you can see the other hashtags that we have there at the bottom. The CRA and CT Bites and Eat In will all work to help to get visibility around this campaign, and we'll help to share your videos and your photos. But please, you can start this today. We think over the next couple of weeks, we're going to see a lot of momentum through this. So we, invite everybody on this webinar today to go ahead and start, sharing your photos or videos.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
Because I see some questions, and yes, Twitter, Nikki, apologize, we didn't put on there. Every social, Snapchat, whatever you guys use as a platform that your customers engage with. And if some of you guys have younger demographics, as I look to John Nealon, if he's on this morning with Taco Daddy and his team, we're going to take direction. Your guests, who goes on your Instagram, who shares, likes, everything else. We're just trying to create a long lasting campaign. We could go out and just say, hey, give us money. I know there's been frustration texts on the side that maybe people don't want to put up here. Like, why don't we just shut down and get in state relief? This is ridiculous. People aren't coming out. I hear that frustration every single day. I understand that, but understand this, just because they shut you down does not mean they're going to give us a damn thing in state money. And that's the frustration that I have. And the other thing is, as you guys know, any additional rollbacks is going to make it hard as hell to get us back to phase 3. It's going to take us longer because it's going to be, we're going to wait 2 more weeks or 28 more days till we get back to phase 2. And then we're going to wait another 28 more days. Like, that whole world that we lived in throughout the summer and fall matters. The same way I told the private event industry about the 25 or less, that's frustrating as well. They're worried about Q2 weddings and things that are being canceled right now. But I said, if we roll back to a phase 1, think how much harder it's going to get to get to the other side of that, and how long that took us through that process. So just understand that, I get it. I understand the frustration, and you guys have to make difficult decisions. And it's heartbreaking for me to hear from a restaurant yesterday that I've known, and a board member that means so much to me, and what they're going through, and a tough decision they're going to have to make. All of these matters. I get it, but understand we're trying to do everything we can to help you survive. And I'm hopeful that we can build back consumer confidence, and we can get, the messaging, and I'm hopeful. I want to be optimistic through this process of, what Thanksgiving looked like. I think a lot of people were around older demographic was like, I'm just not going to go out this week because I'm going to see my grandmother on Friday, and we heard that. And obviously the numbers are going to be a telltale sign of what this weekend looks like. But everything that we try to do in this campaign, matters. And the other piece to why we chose Save CT Restaurants is this campaign can carry weight no matter what we talk about. It's, the Delaware one that I know Yvette just showed some photos. It's about Save Our Jobs, which is an impactful. We could talk about that in Save CT Restaurants. We can talk about the 85,000 folks that went on unemployment in the first 2 weeks of this pandemic. We can talk about, that if we had to go back to a phase 1, how many more people will go back on unemployment without a safety net on the state side? There is no safety net on a federal side. All of that is playing into this conversation. But my goal for this is, I want to have a campaign that is organic, that's led by you guys. Obviously, we're going to do some of the charge on a political side and legislatively, where the letter comes in, and why I try to work with the media to talk about these 3 kind of big topic message points. But where you take and go with it is so important, where people to see, we have to tell the story. We have to see the faces of your employees, the faces of you working your butt off, and the 15-hour days behind the line, telling that story of hey, I have to work, I haven't been at the line cooking, in 8 years, and now I have to do it to survive as a restaurant. Those stories matter, but people need to see that. I think that's what has gotten lost, the genuine appeal of that. These aren't big chain restaurants. These aren't, the 600 restaurants that have already closed. So you guys know, those are from our top 5 food distributors. Some of them are on the call right now. Though they don't deal with national accounts. Those are out of we have probably 8,500 restaurants, but we probably have about 4,000 that are really the full service dining. Those are the numbers that are hitting. So when you really look at the stark reality, it's really bleak. And this story needs to be told, and people need to understand you guys are phenomenal at and I think Juliana put up a great point, that you're feeding frontline workers, you're feeding staff that you've laid off. All of that can tie into Save CT Restaurants. Every single part of this story, and I hear them every day, are phenomenal. You guys are fighters. You guys are make me always want to get up and fight every day because of what you're doing. We just need to tell that in a larger way to the public. And that's where this campaign really starts, and where we're trying to go with it. So we will launch the letter in the press release, and you'll see the email and probably a call to action to push the letter out today. But start building ideas you guys have with your team. You guys have some phenomenal marketing teams already. To say, hey, Scott, we're going to do this or that. Like, you don't have to ask for our approval. You don't have to, obviously, if you get a media inquiry, let me know. I'm happy to kind of give you some talking points if you need help with that. But the more organic, the better. The more that this comes genuine from your story, that people need to know. These are your dreams. You guys building these restaurants are everything. And people need to understand that. And we need to stop looking at it as, oh, it's just, we'll close you and we'll reopen you later on. Like, they need to understand what that would mean to each of you individually and to our entire industry. So that's, I wanted to make sure I drove that home with some of these questions.
I also wanted to mention, I know we have caterers on this call. I know we have vendors on this call. This campaign is open to everyone, even though, we've positioned at, as restaurants. We all have a story and we all are impacted by this. So, everyone can share their story. And to Scott's point, I think, and I know Juliana had a good suggestion there in the chat. Would it help if we did a video with other restaurants in our towns to show how many of us there are and that we are a united front? I think that's a great idea. And I think for us, we did want to provide some, example speaking points, but we want you to share your story and we want to see that creativity, whatever you think is going to make an impact. Please, as Scott mentioned, you don't have to clear it with us. Please just share your story and be as creative. We've seen some of you share some really incredible stories throughout this, and it's made a difference. And Kristen's put, in the comments, In-Group Creative in Eaton is here to help. Message them, CT Bites, Go Nation. They're phenomenal and the best at what they do. Scott, I think, do we have are we going back to PowerPoint?
I was going to just shift it back over to you and Ryan, if that works.
Yeah, so I think, we're coming up on the hour here, so I want to get the last part of this consumer confidence campaign. So I'll shift into that and we'll have, I know Ryan's on the call, so Ryan, will have you come on in just a moment. But some of you may have heard us speak about Dine Safe before. We want to share this campaign with everybody today. I'm gonna, in just a moment, introduce Ryan. Ryan through the CRA, but Ryan is the founder and the creator and the CEO of Dine Safe. So Dine Safe is an online platform that provides restaurants a marketing edge to communicate all of the steps that you're doing to keep your guests and employees safe, to communicate that out to the dining public. And in that way, it fits in with this campaign where we're working really hard to build consumer confidence. As we continue to see in the media, there's that really big disconnect between everything that we're doing to keep guests safe and what the public or how the media perceive the safety and risk of dining in restaurants. Ryan has spent, we've been probably since 6 or 7 months now talking about this and helping to provide input into the development of Dine Safe. So I just want to thank Ryan, who has worked very hard to build this platform. He's invested a lot of time and money and energy in creating this, and then has recently approached us about making Dine Safe available to all CT restaurants without any charge. So Ryan, do you want to come off? I know you're on there. Do you want to come off or show your video and kind of share just a little bit about why you created Dine Safe and what you're offering here?
Sure.
I hear you. I don't see you. Okay, great. Thanks, Ryan. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think you guys stopped my video. So if you guys, I can do a video if you guys re-enable it.
Okay, I'll work on it.
But anyway, yeah. So, Yvette, do you want me to run some slides about it, or do you guys have the slides?
I'm gonna walk everybody through what it looks like.
Perfect. Yeah. So, just real quick, Dine Safe, and first, and Yvette, thank you for the very kind intro. Dine Safe is a lot more than just me. We have an incredible team working on it. We have tech guys, we have restaurant guys, we have sales guys. It's fantastic, and we're putting it out there as a service to the dining public, and to the industry. This is something for the industry to use. It's a free tool in terms of keeping compliant, but most importantly, it's a tool to use to increase consumer confidence. It is a tool to use to help bring customers and guests back into your restaurants by showing them the incredible things that all of you are doing with regard to safety. We've seen so many metrics that show that consumer confidence is critical to getting people back into restaurants, right? That if people do not feel that safety is now such an incredible component of how diners choose when and where to eat out, that we needed a way to show them, I know all the great things that you guys are doing, and so I eat out all the time. My family enjoys dining indoors and outdoors consistently throughout the pandemic because we know how awesome you guys are doing. But we wanted to create a technology that restaurants can use to convey that information that I know to what everybody else knows. So, from the media can say whatever they want, but you guys can use Dine Safe to show the real story and all the real things that you guys are doing. So that's my spiel. It is free. It is a free product. It's going to take you guys through the pandemic and hopefully beyond. And we're not charging CT restaurants. So please, grab it down, sign up, get an account. Yvette's going to walk you guys through how it works, but that's my spiel.
Thank you, Ryan. I'm sorry I couldn't figure out how to get your video back on there, but
no worries.
So
that's probably for the best.
So yeah, I'm gonna show you how easy this is. And everybody, I mean, if you're watching this webinar on your computer, you can actually go to your phone and sign up right now. You just go to DineSafe US. So I'm gonna walk you through right now how to sign up and then what the daily compliance looks like. So the website is www.dinesafe.us. When you go, the landing page you see here on the screen, you're gonna just go to Join DineSafe. And in here, you're going to fill in your information, your restaurant group name or business name, your email, a mobile number, a password. Check off if you're a member of the CRA and if you've taken the Connecticut Restaurant Promise. And then you're just going to click sign up. It's that easy to sign up. What'll happen is the next day you'll start getting text alerts to complete your compliance. I'm going to sign in now. I have a test account, so I'm going to sign in and I'm going to walk you through what that looks like. And as I go through this, I will explain the different parts of how DineSafe works. So again, this is a test account. So when you sign up, you're gonna add your restaurants. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to just click on add restaurant, and this is right here where you're going to type in your restaurant name. So let me see. I know I saw Phil on here earlier. So, I'm just putting in wooden tab just to show you. As soon as you type in your restaurant, you're going to see the restaurant there. You're just going to click on it, and you're going to add the restaurant to your account, and you just click submit. If you are a restaurant group, what we advise is that you set up one account, and then that one person adds all of your restaurants under that one account. Once you add your restaurant, again, you'll start getting the compliance checklists on a daily basis. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. Again, this is just an example, but this is what I just want to take a step back. You can do this on your computer. Obviously, right now I'm doing this on my laptop just to show you, but we recommend that you do this on your phone because some of the questions are going to require that you upload a photo. So the way that DineSafe works is that you'll get a text message every day. It's going to remind you to go through and complete your compliance. The compliance questions are based on the state guidelines. So if you go to ct.gov and you pull up the restaurant opening protocol, it's based on those protocols. So these are all steps that you're already doing, but are required for you to do on a daily basis. Now, one of the things with DineSafe that's so great is that this is a daily checklist. Each day, you're going to get between 3 and 4 questions that just verify that you're following the compliance items. Some of those questions are going to ask you to upload a photo. The reason why this is daily compliance is because that's how, studies show that in order to build consistency, you have to have sort of a daily habit of doing things. We've also found in the process of interviewing restaurants that have been using this, and big thank you to out the restaurants that were part of the beta launch in West Hartford and Stanford, who provided a lot of feedback for us. But what we found was restaurants were saying, well, we stopped doing that part, or we didn't really think that part was important, or maybe a staff person just stopped doing something, and then as soon as you stop doing it once, it becomes sort of normal to not do it again. And so we found that having that daily compliance where you're doing this checklist every single day helps to build in that the daily habits. Now, this is to increase consumer confidence and to show to the public, also to the state, you're doing all the steps that are required of you to keep your guests safe. So I'm just going to show you right now, after you sign up and you get your compliance checklist, this is an example of what a daily compliance will look like. So this first question that I have here is on hand sanitizer. Hand sanitizer shall be made available at the entrance points and common areas where possible. I've seen it at every single one of your restaurants. I know you guys are doing this one. This one actually requires that you upload a photo. All you're going to do, and again, it's much easier on your phone because you can just click on it, take the photo with your phone and upload it. I happened to put I can remember where I saved it on my desktop here. I happened to save some sample pictures on my computer here. So I upload the photo of the hand sanitizer in my restaurant and I click yes. Okay. Then it's going to go to the next question. Do you have the violations hotline and whistleblower protection information in your restaurant? This is required. It's in the restaurant reopening protocols. So you're just going to read that question. If it's a yes or a no, of course, these questions, you should be answering yes to all of them. You're going to click yes. It's going to go to question 3, your seating and table arrangement. So this one is are your tables spaced 6 feet, or do you have the non-porous barriers if you're seating less than 6 feet? So this one also requires a photo. And I think I saw Keith on here from the main pub in Manchester. I borrowed your photo because this is a great one that shows the spacing, your 6-foot spacing of your tables. So you're gonna share a photo of how you're accomplishing this compliance item in your restaurant. With this one, I'm showing the 6-foot spacing, but you might want to show a picture of your, the barriers that you're using to provide that protection. So we're gonna click yes. And the last question on this today is going to be your daily health check. So are you completing that daily health check, asking your employees, if they're having any of these symptoms? And you're going to click yes. One point we are adding in, some of these items will have a link where you can get more information. It may go to the CDC that shows more information on that topic. And some of them will also have a do you know, which will give you a little bit more information about that topic. Great ways to also train your staff on some of the reasons behind why some of these compliance items are in here. So we're going to click yes. And now you'll see that I'm compliant for today. Again, this is a test account, so please ignore all my non-compliance there. But this is also a great, this profile page here allows you to see each day that you've completed the compliance items, how were the questions answered, what were the pictures that were uploaded. And you can also see if you have any non-compliant days. This also will show which of your staff people has completed the compliance. So it allows you to see, are the compliance items getting done, who's doing them, and how are they answering the questions. I'm going to show you in just a second here. You can add managers, and we do encourage you to do this. One of the things that we found when we spoke to restaurant operators that started using DineSafe in their restaurant is that they signed up, but then got busy and had a difficult time doing it every day. And what we found is that you've got to identify the person in your restaurant that makes the most sense to do this. It might not be you. If you're an owner or you're a GM or you're managing multiple locations, you might want to identify somebody in each of your restaurants or multiple managers that will be responsible for completing the daily compliance. So if it's not you, you want to go here and you want to just add the manager. And that's where you just add their name, their mobile number, email. Mobile number is important because that's where you're going to get the text alerts. And so it's really that easy. The part that is really great about DineSafe, which I can't show you a screenshot today because it's still under development, but all of this data gets pushed through to the public viewing side. And that's where this marketing advantage comes in. So DineSafe works with Google so that when you go in and you type in a restaurant, restaurant name, or you type in, restaurant name safety, it's going to automatically pull the DineSafe data. So any restaurants that are using DineSafe are going to appear through your Google searches. And then you'll also receive a landing page, and that landing page will, one thing that's really great is the landing page will pull all of your data. You don't have to go in and manually enter anything. It's going to pull your pictures. It's going to pull your score, and that page will be visible to the public. And then you'll also get a social media toolkit that will allow you to share your badges that you get with your certification. And again, like, I haven't been doing it on this test account, but you will probably be, 90% or 100% over here that you can see for the score. And so when you sign up, start completing the compliance to get your certification, it takes about 2 weeks because the data has to build. So you've got to do it every day. Once you get your certification, you'll be able to share that on social media, and then you continue doing the compliance every day, and that allows you to maintain your certification.
Hey, Yvette, I can show a quick sample of the profile page if you'd like.
Okay.
If I can, I think I can, if I can go into, let's see here. Can I share my screen? Yeah, let's see here. No, because we need the host to do it. All right. I can't share the screen.
Right, hold on, go ahead. You should be able to do it now.
Okay, let me see. Very nice. Let's see. So yeah, so this is just an example of how how your profile page will look. This will be a link on Google. You can see at the top there'll be a statement from the owner. There'll be your score, and then down below where it gets cut off a little bit, you'll be able to click on those. Folks can click on those categories if they want. There'll be a score in each one of those categories, and they can see the things that you're doing. They can see the pictures that you're uploading. But so far, we've seen most folks just want to see the score and to know that you're doing stuff, and to know that you're following all these guidelines. So it's really important, just that we give this information to guests and that they have this opportunity. So this is just an example of what that profile page is going to look like. We're going to have those up for the first wave of certified folks in the next week. So we are really excited about that, and that's going to be sort of the real touchstone of DineSafe. That's kind of the foundation of it, is this ability to show guests how you keep them safe.
Thank you, Ryan. And I know that some of the questions were answered in the chat. I'm just going to touch on some of them here because these are very common questions that we get. As far as, do you need to insert a photo every day? There will be, of your 3 or 4 questions, there will be 1 or 2 that will require a photo upload. The questions, I mean, it took me longer to show you here than what it will normally take you. It takes you maybe 2 or 3 minutes every morning to complete the compliance questions. So you'll only upload the photos when the question asks you for one. And then Christina, you were asking about hours, and we are looking at being able to add your restaurant hours. However, there is a button, I didn't show you on the screen, but there is a button where you can click very easily that says you're closed that day, and that way that won't impact your score. And keep in mind, any feedback that we can get from you, Ryan and his team are working very hard, the developers, to make improvements to the product. So the more feedback you can provide, we're continuing to take this feedback into account and make adjustments. And then Allison, I think we already touched on this as far as sharing daily compliance. Again, some of it will happen automatically as the data just flows through. But then once you have your badge and everything, we found people are really excited once they get their certificate to share that. So you'll be able to share that on your social media. Great point that Ryan just mentioned. The compliance questions are based on the state protocols. Any changes that happen, that gets updated automatically. So it's really great. You don't have to worry about, where are we at with a certain compliance item. It automatically updates as, if there's a new executive order, if there's a state level change, that's going to automatically update. And again, Christina, yes, you can skip the day. You just mark that you're closed. So again, just go to that dinesafe.us, sign up. You will get a call from somebody from the DineSafe team or from the CRA that will just make sure you have everything that you need, and that will be available if you have any questions. Jessica, the app is under development. It's not ready yet. So you either on your phone or on your computer, you would just go online and go to the website dinesafe.us.
just to jump in here, Yvette and Ryan, I want to thank to Yvette's point. I want to thank Ryan and the team that's built this product, and it's exciting for us as a CRA, because it's another opportunity to showcase all that you guys are doing. I don't think it's, based on the feedback I've seen from the restaurateurs, this has been built by restaurateurs. It's not been built by state agencies. I know you guys love public health probably as much as I do now. Gotten a chance to really live it up with them for the last 8 months. But this is built by your own team of people that understand your business and your industry, and it's continuing to evolve. And I think having this product, what we're trying to do as a CRA is get as many restaurants signed up over the next week or two, start to get them certified, and launch some PR with the Save CT, maybe not Save CT restaurants as part of that, but a bigger piece about all the things we're doing to keep people safe through this. I think that this product has shelf life. I actually know this product has shelf life beyond COVID. This is tied to COVID right now. This is, also, I think, Rob, you asked a question about, do I have to answer questions every day? This is an opportunity too for you that have managers to give them a 4 or 5 minute checklist to make sure that they're doing it. They can't cheat the system. They have to take a picture that's time-stamped and dated that day. They can't go, I had a photo uploaded, I'm just going to put that up there. It's kind of, they've been worked on with the technology to make sure that it has to keep you in compliant. You have to continue to do it, answer, 2 or 3 or 4 questions a day, even beyond your certification, to make sure you're continuing to follow those and you're self-certifying in a sense. But where I think this product will gain opportunity to gain long-term appeal is, safety is going to be a number one concern, I think, in restaurants for years to come. I know it will be. I mean, you look at just the, safety was never a part of this conversation. It was always, what type of food you serving, what the ambiance is like and everything else. Like, I used examples with folks when, as I've come into this industry in 2.5 years, when someone just hypothetically says, oh, that kitchen's dirty. Like, I've said to some of the restaurant owners, like, how do you change that perception? How do you show that you're going above and beyond and doing all these safety protocols? This is obviously going above and beyond and showing what you're doing in a COVID related, but I think the shelf life of DineSafe can also look to be growing beyond the pandemic, and looking at back of house and looking at all the things you guys are doing when you're getting, certified by public health. You're going above and beyond that people don't know about, to make sure that you can set yourself apart as a restaurant that does everything that's asked of them in a safety world. So that's what excites me about the product beyond just where we are today. But I hope you guys, it's free through March right now for all of you guys to take advantage of this. I know we have, I think over 50 or 60 restaurants that are doing it right now in Connecticut. I'd love to see hundreds. I think it makes it easier for me. I'm trying to share it with the governor's staff directly as another element of what we're doing on our own, to keep people safe, and to go above the guidelines. And we've added the guidelines into this, and we're having photos, we're having managers do these things, and you can hold your managers accountable to take 3 or 4 minutes every day to do the 4 questions, which I don't think is a lot that's asked of them. So I appreciate it, Ryan. Go ahead.
It's got just one quick thing. It's going to be free. It's going to be free for CT restaurants forever. So we're not going to be charging CT restaurants for it, even after the pandemic ends.
Awesome.
We want this to be our gift to an industry that's fighting for its life right now.
Awesome, Ryan. No, that's great. And I think, but at the end of the day, this product is only as good as the users that are using it and giving feedback to Ryan and his team. As we move forward, there's already been multiple changes in the last 2 months that have made it a little bit easier for you guys that have asked some great questions. And then as we start to see how this thing rolls out and how we can use that to the advantage of helping your restaurants with consumer confidence and the safety side, because it'll be a category, I think, for years to come that people are going to care about of how safe is your restaurant. So no, thank you, Ryan, Yvette, so much for your guys' efforts and work on this. So if you have any other questions, please, you can sign up today at dinesafe.us. Is there anything else, Yvette or Ryan?
I think we're good. Thank you, everybody, for participating. I know we went a little bit long today, but this is really important stuff. So glad you can be part of the hashtag Save CT Restaurants, and then also signing up for DineSafe. Yeah,
real quick. I know a couple of you guys are looking to hop off. I've had some questions about caterers, private event venues. I understand Save CT Restaurants does not connect with everybody, but the other hashtag that I say for you to use is Save CT Events. Jonathan Jennings and I were just talking about that. Understand that Save CT Restaurants has the ring to it from a media and legislative side, and where it carries weight, but this is an entire industry. And I continue to share that every day when I talk to the media, when I talk to legislators, that this industry affects, the AquaTurfs and the Amber Rooms, as it does, CT Wedding Group and everything else that you guys have lost, or with Sharon Nicholson and the Events Industry Coalition that started. It affects everybody. So understand that I know hashtag Save CT Restaurants might not work for the Connecticut Wedding Group specifically, but putting that hashtag on your post with your staff and showcasing the weddings that have been lost, and maybe putting hashtag Save CT Events still matters. And obviously the overarching title is the Save CT Restaurants, but understand this is an industry push. This is hospitality. If we were to get any state money or to get any federal dollars, we need to make sure it targets our entire industry as a whole. So I hope that makes some sense for you guys as we continue to move forward, because it's been some good questions that have been asked. I'm just trying to look at other questions you guys have. Jay, what constitutes food? That's what I'm working on right now. Right now I would say that a basket of chips would not meet the guidelines. They want it to be meal-like. But if you put chili on the chips and called them nachos, that would be okay. It's really, really confusing. Jay, trust me, I'm kind of pushing back, and nothing's been announced yet. I think continue to move forward with food and alcohol together, and we'll try to work through these guidelines to not make it as cumbersome and challenging of what you can do and what you can't do. But I think they want to get away from, having a jar of peanuts out there and just having people buy, 7 beers, because that's not the intent of food with alcohol. So I need to push. I still don't have all the guidelines finalized, but it's a good question, Jay, that we'll try to get answered for you. Any other questions? Just looking through. See that Sarah has something emailed. I don't know if that's the statewide yet, though. That could just be your towns can also send out stuff in regards to that. So we'll look at it. Heavy appetizers. Yes, Sarah, thank you. But again, I know we're kind of over time. I appreciate everybody taking the time today. Please take some time. First and foremost, a couple action items. Sign up for Dine Safe. Start that process with your managers. But then going back to Save CT Restaurants, you'll see the launch here in the next hour or so from us, from a CRA side. Please start to think about how you can get creative and tell your story with restaurateurs around you in your town. Work to tell your story with your staff. Tag us, tag all the different, the Go Nations, Edens, and CT Bites, and making sure we see it. Tag the governor, tag your local officials, make sure that story is being told. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this campaign gets unveiled. I'm looking forward to see the reaction of the governor's administration to the letter today, and trying to make a bigger push to get some state funding, because you guys desperately need it. So thank you guys again for the time. And I look forward, if you guys need anything, you know where to find me, and we will talk again soon.